Hola mi gente, welcome back to Banking on Cultura. I am your host, Victoria Jenn Rodriguez, and I'm so excited for you to be here because the next few episodes are going to take you on a behind-the-scenes journey of what went down at the Secure the Big Bag and Love Unapologetically Summit. I hosted this event in November 2023 along with my partner, Kara Arwell, and we just got so much great feedback and literally lives were transformed that I wanted to bring this to the Banking on Cultura community, especially as we are approaching a new year and thinking about who we want to be, right? And why do we want to be this person? And what is it going to take in order for us to get there? So I welcome you to join me on this journey of how you are going to increase your streams of income entering into 2024. But most importantly, how are you going to love yourself unapologetically and those around you that you care about? So grab your notebook, grab your pen, because mega gems were dropped. And I hope you use this information and really think critically about, how am I going to set myself up for success as we enter this new year? And I brought in the best of the best experts to break this down. So there's going to be tangible strategies that you can actually implement immediately. And make sure when you tune in that you subscribe and leave us a review. I want to know what you think, y'all. I want to make sure that we are constantly providing you value. All right, y'all. So enjoy. All right, guys. We're about to get into our next conversation, which I'm really, really excited about because it's about being irreplaceable, right? And this panel is all about AI could never, owning your badassery and dominating your lane. My favorite topic to discuss.
That's right.
And I'm joined by beautiful Evelyn, so the floor is yours.
Hello, my beautiful people. I'm so excited to be here and having this amazing conversation that is incredibly timely. So my name is Evelyn Pérez Albino. I am an employment attorney, most recently at Facebook, actually advising on AI and machine learning in the workplace setting, right? So one of the things that makes this conversation so timely is that there is no industry that is untouchable by AI. And as I've transitioned from being an employment attorney to doing career strategy and consulting work, trying to elevate high-achieving women of color in corporate America to do this thing, right? I have had the pleasure of walking folks through the idea of stepping up into your own personal brand and what that means. And we now have the GOAT here with us who's going to walk us through how she has done the damn thing. I'm very excited for that conversation.
Same.
So if you guys have been watching the news lately, you will know that even in things like art, in the acting space at Hollywood, AI is getting a ton of traction. Most recently, I think earlier this week, we had a closing collective bargaining agreement negotiation with actors and writers who managed to put into their contract the fact that they need protection and payment from whatever AI is coming down the pike and how folks will be leveraging that in the studios, right? So this is a thing that is incredibly timely and can affect all of us. I want to hear from Victoria on why we think this is such an amazing topic today and why it was critical for us to have it in the program.
Yeah, so to your point about AI being all in our space, and there really is no way around it. Actually, I was listening to this podcast coming in this morning, and he positioned it so well. So literally everything that is shown to you on your phone, from your Google searches, what comes up on your Instagram feed, what comes up on the internet in terms of ads, is driven to you by a machine, right? It's driven to you because a human being programmed the machine to show you that, right? And AI is just going to continue to infiltrate our lives. And I want to make sure that you guys are prepared for this revolution that is inevitable, but also, most importantly, to know that you are irreplaceable if you position yourself correctly. So a lot of today's conversation is going to speak to the significance of AI and how should you be using it as a tool, right? Complementary to whatever you're doing, but most importantly, how to make sure that you don't get replaced, honey. Because one way or another, AI is gonna come for you, okay? If it hasn't already.
Amazing. So we know that you are the imposter syndrome killer, right?
Hi.
So walk us through, how do folks really conquer their mindset to position themselves as untouchable by AI?
So I would love to walk you guys through. I have a pretty simple 4-step framework that I need to trademark because the other day I saw somebody using my framework and I was like, oh, Oh, no.
Not okay.
I know. But it was another learning for another time. But I want you guys to take notes on this because it is something that I created as a result of experiencing imposter syndrome myself. If you think about people like J-Lo, Michelle Obama, Sheryl Sandberg, you think about people like Tony Robbins, and you're like, they got it going on, right? Super successful, have amazing careers, very admirable. I know for me, like J-Lo's my idol, one of my idols. And they all have admitted to experiencing imposter syndrome recently. And you would never think that of someone of that stature, right? Someone at that level that they would experience imposter syndrome. So what that indicated to me and what it should indicate to all of you is that imposter syndrome is actually a very good thing, right? Because it's a signal that you are stepping outside of your comfort zone. It's a signal that you are coloring outside the lines. And we need to continue to push forward in that, right? Because even the most successful are experiencing imposter syndrome. In fact, 70% of professionals experience imposter syndrome at least 3 times in their lives, right? And of that, that triples for women of color. Okay? So the fact that you're experiencing this, A, is very normal, number one, but B, is something that you should begin to think about as a good thing. Because again, it's an indication that you're pushing yourself, right? That you're getting uncomfortable. So let's get into the framework, right? Because this framework is gonna help you as you continue to hear more and more about AI. It's super scary because you don't know what's to come. There's so much ambiguity. And quite frankly, if there isn't regulation put around AI, it could be like an extinction, like literally, because the machines are just growing in intelligence at such fast speed that we'll never be able to keep up. And they're learning from each other. So now they don't even need a human being to program. They're programming each other, right? So it's really important for you to be educated on this to one point, but on the other side is to realize that human is a superpower, right? And to position yourself and become irreplaceable, it starts where? It starts in our mind. Right? Because once we're able to believe it, then we're able to live it. All right? So let's go into this 4-part framework, yes? So the first part of the framework is self-awareness. Just like anything, in order for us to actually solve for something, we need to be self-aware. So I want you guys to think about, when do you feel like an imposter? When does it come up for you? Is it at a board meeting? Is it when you're about to deliver a keynote? Is it when you're about to have a difficult conversation with your boo? Right? When is it coming up? It's important for you to be self-aware so that you can be prepared for the next time you come across this experience, okay? The second part of the framework is, and this is one of my favorites, is for you to create a badassery committee. What is a badassery committee?
Tell us, girl, tell us.
So a badassery committee is basically 5 to 7 people that you can call upon, that you trust, that know you, that can pour life into you, kind of reinvigorate you when energy is low, to remind you of the badass that you are. And this is a very prestigious role, y'all. So you guys need to like hunt them down. If they're not already in your circle, they might be right here in this room, right? And make sure that they know, like, hey, you're on call for this. Like if I call you, just know you better pick up the line because I need you to pour into me, right? I need you to build me back up because I'm just not 1,000% on my game, which is completely natural, which happens to the most confident people, okay? So the third part of the framework is mirror self-talk. So we need to start speaking to ourselves in a positive way, right? And so an exercise, a homework assignment that I have for all of you is I want you to think of 15 affirmations. And if you can't, Google it, right? AI will give you some, right? Google the 15 aspirations that mean the most to you. And for the next 15 days, consecutively, all right? This is important. It needs to be consecutive, okay? For the next 15 days in the morning, right, before you leave the house or right when you wake up, and in the evening before you go to sleep, you're going to recite those affirmations. And within 15 days, you are going to begin to experience a shift, all right? Now, this is backed up, proven, okay? This is not me just spewing stuff out to you. Right, it's science, okay? It's how we operate, it's how we think as human beings, okay? So if you do this for the next 15 days, you will begin to experience that shift, not only in your mindset, but most importantly in your behavior, in how you show up in the world, okay? And then the last part of the framework is where a lot of super ambitious, everybody say ambitious.
Ambitious.
Yes, because I know all of us up in here is ambitious, right? This last part of the framework we struggle with, right? Especially the ambitious because we're always going. We're always executing. We're always thinking about, okay, what next? We're thinking about, okay, I need to get out of my way because I need to achieve X, Y, Z, right? We're just always accomplishing, right? Checking things off, making things happen, right? And as a result of that, we forget to celebrate ourselves. We forget to celebrate the wins, right? Because every time we have something we accomplish, there's something else on the agenda, right? Kara and I, after this event, we got something else on the agenda, right? So it's really easy for you to forget and for you to not celebrate. And when I mention celebrate your wins, this is not just you know, closing a new deal, getting a new car, going on a successful date. This is you making your bed in the morning. This is you calling a friend that you haven't spoken to in a long time. This is you know, going to your aunt's house, your tia's house to cook her some food because you haven't seen her in a while, right? Every win matters, and remembering to celebrate those wins will allow you to not forget the badass that you are, right? Because you're constantly celebrating yourself. Make sense?
I love that. Mindset is the key, right? And it is how we lean into what you said, which I love. That's a Victoria Jenn gem. Human is the superpower, right? Conquering mindset. So we have that advantage, and it's the one thing that AI cannot do, right? AI is an algorithm. It is a formula. There's AI out there that's trying to replace lawyers, but guess what? There's something about how I lawyer that AI cannot duplicate. So talk to me about how you leverage that thought leadership, and after you've conquered the mindset, you're now able to figure out how you position yourself as different from AI.
Yes. So the best way to differentiate yourself is the human element, right? AI does not have empathy, right? AI does not have emotional intelligence. AI does not have feelings, really. So that part of us that makes us human is what's going to allow you to remain competitive, right? So let's say, I mean, inevitably, the majority of jobs will be replaced by AI, right? So if you're preparing for the future, right, because this is coming over the next 10 to 15 years, but we're already seeing a lot of AI replacing jobs right now. So we're about preparation. Everybody say preparation.
Preparation.
Right? So we're preparing for the future. So I want you to start thinking critically about who you are and who you want to be and why, right? And not going to Instagram to find the answer, right? Going within to find that answer, because that human element and curating a role, a professional role in your life that has a very strong human connection is what's going to allow you to survive the AI revolution, because they don't have that. It's not part of their structure. It's not part of the machinery of it, right? It's that human element that it can't replace regardless of how intelligent it is, right? It can't replace that. So thinking about how can I use my thought leadership to curate a business, a project, a service, or implement into my current role that I'm at right now that allows me to play up more of the human element piece to remain competitive.
For sure. And I want to make sure that the audience understands we're not, we ain't shitting on AI. AI might be the move. It might be how you gain hours in your day. It might be how you can accelerate your productivity. It might be how you brainstorm. And so, Victoria Jenn, tell us a little bit about how you can leverage AI to better help you position your personal brand, to help you build on what it is that you are trying to get out into the world.
Sure. So, this is pretty common. Everybody in here heard of ChatGPT? Right? So this is kind of like the most popular one. So if you haven't played around with it, I definitely encourage you to do so. Sure. Because ChatGPT can create a website for you within a minute, right? It can be your customer service if you program it to be that, right? So you should be leveraging AI, right? But again, it's complement to you, right? It's not replacing you, right? So using AI to save time, using AI to help you ideate, right? Using AI to show you examples of how you should be positioning your product or service in order for it to sell fast, right? We're using it in a complementary way, okay? Now, AI can create a website for you for sure, but it's gonna lack the empathy in the language that it gives you. Does that make sense? So there's a difference. So we're using AI to save time. We're using AI to become more efficient. We're using AI to be our assistant, right? And maybe save some coins instead of hiring an assistant, right? But we are identifying ways for us to use it as our peer, right? Versus as a competitor. Another example is now I just learned of an AI. For those of you who are introverts and don't like being on camera, you literally can like record yourself in your own home so nobody else sees you, and then the AI will make videos for you in your voice and how you look.
It's terrifying.
Yeah. It's terrifying, but it's also pretty cool.
It might be the move.
Right. It's also pretty cool. So doing your research and educating yourself is most important. Actually, a prompt that you can put into ChatGPT is, what are the 10 AI tools I should be using in XYZ type of company? And then it will tell you the top AI tools you should use, and then you're going to pay attention and you're going to do your research. I want to encourage you to definitely make sure that you are tapping into this and not letting your fear deter you. Because it's like when the internet first came around. Like, those who were like my daddy. Hey, daddy. When he first heard of the internet, he was like, I'm not doing that, right? He wasn't really about that life, right? Just like any new change that comes up, automatically the human reaction is, I don't have to worry about that, or, oh, that's not a part of who I am. I'm not even going to engage. And now, can't even get around it. My daddy had an iPhone, like he's posting his videos and all that jazz, right? So that's going to be the same situation with AI. And you spoke about brand. So let's get into branding a little bit, because that to me is the key on how you are going to become irreplaceable. And I'm going to give you an example. So I recently launched a podcast called Banking on Cultura. Thank you. Which, highlights the complexity and vibrancy of Latino culture, entrepreneurship, and all the bonchinche in between. Bonchinche is gossip. And this was a completely new world for me. I didn't know much about podcasting aside from the fact that I love to listen to podcasts, right? I didn't know how to start one. I didn't know how to film for one. I didn't know how to get guests. I didn't really understand the industry. And imposter syndrome was all up in my space, right? Because it was new, right? And the natural human reaction is to feel like, am I cut out for this? Like, am I good enough for this? Can I really do this? And the way that I was able to get through the imposter syndrome was just to do, right? Was just to continuously show up and figure it out as I go. I'm very much still figuring it out as I go with the podcast, even after we've had over 11 million impressions on social media. Even after we were on 10 or 11, even after, we've been in major Hispanic publications, like, it's still very much new to me, right? And I still have these conversations with myself like, V, even though you still don't know what you're doing, you still are following through with strategy. Like, you're still putting thought leadership into what you are doing, right? And very much of why I started this podcast was, I got a sign from God on that retreat when I was in Costa Rica that I told you guys about earlier. But also I was like, ooh, this is a way to expand my brand. This is a way to tap into my community more deeply. This is a way to differentiate myself. This is a way to get in people's ears, right? Build credibility, build trust, right? So I would love to share some tips on building a brand.
Please, yes.
Are you guys about that life? You guys want to hear that? Okay. So how I have been able to build a brand, which I believe is going to make you irreplaceable, so AI could never, okay? First step, right, with anything that you do, is you need to figure out who the hell you are. You need to take the time to figure out who you are. And that answer is not going to come to you right away if you haven't figured it out yet. I'm still discovering, right? I'm still evolving. I'm still adding additional layers to who I am and who I want to become. But it's because I'm being very intentional. Remember that word that we said earlier, intentional? Being very intentional about what I'm building, who I'm partnering with, right? Who am I choosing to spend time with, right? Being very intentional and paying attention to what is happening, right? As I'm going through this discovery, right? So don't be gone with the wind fabulous, okay? And it's very easy for us to be that way because we have so much pressure on us right now. There's so much uncertainty, right? That is drawing up so much fear that it's like easier to just be like, I know, I'm going to eat my food, I'm gonna throw on Netflix, and I'm gonna chill, because I just can't, right? And we avoid having the difficult conversations with ourselves, right? We avoid asking ourselves the tough questions like, what do I really want, right? Like, what do I really want? Do you know? Like, what do you really want? Not what someone tells you you should want, But what do you really want? So that's the first step. Once you figure that out, then you tell the world, right? You tell the world who you are, why you are, and what is your purpose, right? So that you can start building your tribe and community, right? And people that believe in you, right? People that will support you, all right? Then the next step is get into the media, meaning get into publications, right? Reach new people, hire a publicist. That's what I did. For Banking on Cultura, one of my strategies was I need to let the world know that this is happening. How can I do that the best way? I need to get into press. And so I hired a publicist. Shout out to Maria. She's actually in here, right? I hired a publicist to help me get the word out. And that's how we were on TV. That's how we were all in our publications, right? And that's how people are hearing about us all around the world, right? And that's how we're continuously building the brand for not only Banking on Cultura, but for the host, Victoria Jenn Rodriguez, right? And even before the podcast, I would have press around mindset, around business development, right? Everything that I was doing, I was like, let's put in the press. Let's put in the press. Let people know who I am, right? Continuously building the brand and doubling down on who I am, why I am, and the solutions that I provide to problems, right? To create that differentiator. And the brand has really worked for me using social media, which is one of the free ways, right, for you to build your brand. I have people reaching out in my DMs all the time on LinkedIn, because of my brand and how I post about what I'm doing. I post about my dad. People love my dad, by the way. And it's brought me business. Right? Talking about my real life and talking about how I'm a daddy's girl, because people, again, relate to the human element. I was able to humanize my brand, which gravitates people to me, right? They want to know more about me. They want to be in my world because they see themselves in me. Right? Because I'm just sharing real life and what's happening. So that's what I want you guys to think about and really double down on your brand so that you can be irreplaceable.
I love that. So we've talked about how AI is going to show up and sort of infiltrate all of our worlds. We've talked about how we can leverage AI to further accelerate and execute on all the things we've set out for ourselves. And we talked about how we differentiate ourselves by really leaning into our thought leadership, right? Showing up the way that AI cannot, leaning into the things that come naturally to us, our strengths, our confidence, and leveraging that mindset so you can show up and share your message with the world, right? And I want to hear, pivoting perfectly to the Dare to Leap Academy, right? It's a space where you have really been able to support women in leaning into that thought leadership and be able to confidently build up strategically, work smarter and not harder to get out there and share their message with the world. So please tell us about that.
Sure. So the Dare to Leap Academy is my online learning platform where I teach women in corporate how to transition to entrepreneurship without losing their financial security. We also work with women who have been in business less than 5 years and are struggling to scale. And we cover 3 main things inside the academy. One, mindset. Did you guess that? Right? One, mindset, which is the foundation of everything that we do, right? The second piece is business fundamentals and understanding how to build a real business. A lot of entrepreneurs out here have no idea how to analyze tax time, right? And they're just spending. They're not understanding the strategy around taxes. They're not understanding the strategy around business credit. They don't know the difference between an LLC and S Corp. Like, they just don't know. They just want to run before they learn how to walk, right? And we also teach women about sales and marketing, right? But we do a deep dive on the B2B side of things. So B2B is when you sell to another business, right? Versus when you sell to a consumer, which is B2C. And so we teach women how to go after corporate and government 5- and 6-figure contracts, right? So that you can actually scale very fast. In fact, only 4% of women in business hit $1 million in revenue. And of that 4%, 54% are able to hit $1 million because they go after corporate and government contracts. So it's kind of like, I don't even want to say low-hanging fruit, but it is kind of this undiscovered zone that many women in business are overlooking simply because they don't know. They don't know that there's opportunity there. So those are the things that we cover inside the academy.
I love it. So you guys, I don't know if we got into this at the beginning, but I am actually a member of the Dare to Leap Academy. And I had already been successful in my career. I had accelerated to C-suite level at top companies globally, but I was still a baby entrepreneur. Right? I was still battling imposter syndrome when it came to my business. And I was telling myself that not only did I not have the strength or value to provide another client outside of my employer validating, my right to be in a given space, but I was also telling myself that life was just too busy. My life was too chaotic. No one's going to understand my story. And how am I going to connect with folks with whom my story really resonates? And that's one of the reasons why I really gravitated towards your program. I was able to see in Victoria Jenn someone who clearly is differentiating themselves in the market, someone who clearly understands my story and the kinds of things that I'm dealing with, right? And someone whose family is incredibly important. So actually one of the things that you and I connected on during that first call was the fact that, her dad was all over her socials. And I love my family and my mom. She's all over my shit too. So it really made it clear to me that I needed to lean into the support of someone who could understand my story and who could help me conquer the mindset piece, right? I'm an attorney. I knew all the other stuff, but I was never going to execute on any of it if I didn't conquer my mindset. And that's one of the beautiful things that the Dare to Lead Academy did for me and so many of its amazing members.
I'm going to have to throw this out there. So Evelyn joined the academy, and like she said, she's a lawyer, right? So very detail-oriented. Everything needs to be super perfect. And that was one of the things that was holding her back. She was a perfectionist. And she's like, I don't want to put this out there because it's not completely done. Or, no, I can't do this because I haven't reviewed it. So we had to do some of that work. And once we did, within 10 days of joining the academy, you made $10,000, or was it $10,000 within 10 days?
I made $10,000 within 10 days.
She made $10,000 within 10 days. Okay? And I don't want to be all up in your business, but she made a lot more since then. Okay?
Yeah, I ain't like that last panel who's just putting it all out there. We're not there yet.
But she's on her way, right? And it took her daring to leap, right? It took her betting on herself. And really, that is, I would say, the only thing holding women back from doing this is literally their mindset and being in their own way. Because once you tap in and you have the tools and the resources, it's a wrap, which is why I started the academy. Because when I first started, I didn't have any entrepreneurs in my family. I was the first one to go to college in my family, the first one to make six figures. Same. So there was nobody for me to really look to. So I didn't know what the hell I was doing. I had to figure it out as I went, and I lost money along the way. I actually had to pay Uncle Sam $40,000 one year because I didn't understand business expenses, right? And I didn't want women to make those same mistakes. So the academy is like a central depository of all my intellectual property, all my lessons learned, all the failures, and the wins, so that you actually have a framework and a guide that takes you through a step-by-step process of how to do the damn thing, right? And how to consistently bring in revenue.
And doing all of that surrounded by community. So there's a couple of DTL members here in the room.
Yes, shout out to the DTL crew.
Because it really is leaning into the folks around you and appreciating the idea of being well supported. So many of us are in life battling and conquering everything that life throws at us, and are doing it as like, that's our thing. As women of color, we tend to just kind of conquer. And struggles are nothing, but we don't acknowledge the fact that we too can be well supported and lean into our community. So that's one of the greatest assets of DTL. And I think you got a special something for folks in the house tonight, right?
I was thinking about this earlier, and I was like, I know there's going to be a lot of folks in the room who are in a state of transformation, who are transitioning, who are thinking about how they're going to just conquer 2024 and how they're going to secure the big bag. So I was like, you know what? Let me offer something special to the people that invested in themselves, that showed up for themselves, because that right there is the first step towards a change, right? Is you actually have to take action. If you are in a state of transformation, if you are interested in joining the Dare to Leap Academy, this call is a strategy call. It's a call for me to see where you are. It's a call for me to give you advice, and not only advice, but give you strategy about what steps to take next. And it's also your opportunity to join the academy if there is a fit. You know, we go through this process of getting on the phone because we operate in integrity, right? We want to make sure that every woman who joins this program is about this life, right? And who actually really needs the help. and who is going to contribute to the community. So you can't even you can't join the academy online right now. Like, you have to literally go through me. There's no way for you to join, because it's so important for you to be around the right people in order for this to actually come true for you, right? And we're about making this shit happen. Like, Evelyn is making money. She made the transition, right? So it's possible, right? It is possible for you. And so I wanted to offer this to anyone who is interested. Let's get on the phone and let's give you some strategy and give you real tips and see if you're a fit for the academy and welcome you to the familia.
I love that, and I want to encourage you all to not, sleep on this opportunity, because at the end of the day, there's a reason why we talk about Victoria Jenn gems, right? She's dropping gems left and right. So you're going to get some time with her to strategize, and that advice is going to be invaluable. I know from our initial conversation, I got off the phone like, oh, damn, okay, I got to go do this and do that and do the other thing, just to make sure that I am showing up and I am worthy of the caliber of the women in that room, right? So I want to encourage you guys all to do that. This has been an amazing conversation. I hope you guys have all learned a little bit about how you can leverage AI to really get out there and execute on your thought leadership, find out the space and the lanes you really want to be moving in, and make sure to leverage Victoria Jenn and her amazing community to help you do that with support.
I am so incredibly proud of you.
Thank you.
Because, first of all, Evelyn is a mama bear. She is a wife. She is too legit to quit, y'all. She is just the bomb.com. And to see your growth and how far you've come and just how you are. No, you're going to send me that invoice and you're going to pay me, okay? Just seeing that shift in you is purpose for me. So I just want to thank you for showing up and for doing the damn thing. And I'm just so excited for what else you accomplish and just really excited to continue to secure the big bag together.
Thank you so much. I'm down. Let's go.
Mi gente, did you hear? Banking on Cultura is also on YouTube. So if you're into the visual thing, if you want to see our reactions and get into these fits, honey, make sure to look up Banking on Cultura over on YouTube. Thanks for listening to today's episode. Don't forget to make sure and leave a review. This is super important because this is how we're measured on the different audio platforms. So if you want to hear more of Banking on Cultura, if you were vibing, if you had takeaways, if you just enjoyed this episode, please make sure to leave a review. I appreciate you so much. Until next time.